Column Design Report, Column Design Assistant. After running the Column Design Assistant, we now take a closer look at the report. Here on the left side you see that there are individual reports for the two design groups, as well as a concluding design group summary. We first take a closer look at the individual reports. The report starts with the design group name, followed by detailed information like the cross-section and the list of all the columns belonging to the design group. Let's take a short look on the rest of the output. The actions are listed, the characteristic forces for each column, and then there are the load combinations, including the one we user-defined in the task. Here at the end is the most interesting part of the report. Here are the results of the nominal curvature method for the decisive column and the decisive load combination, both marked in blue. You can see an overview with the structural line and the combination. And here we see that both axes have been analyzed in the design. There's the utilization factor, the reinforcement ratio, and the required reinforcement. The reinforcement results are stored in two different design cases. Here is a short explanation, but to show you the difference graphically, we will switch to graphics. Here you can see the required column reinforcement. In design case 1, the required reinforcement of each individual column is saved. In design case 3, the result from the decisive column is saved for all columns in the design group, assuming columns are grouped for design because they will have the same reinforcement later on. Now again, to show you the difference, here is design case 1 with the individual required reinforcement, and here number 3, where all columns have the envelope value. Back in the report, let's take a look at the reinforcement proposal. The task proposes a reinforcement for the column that exceeds the required reinforcement. If you do not want this proposal, you can switch it off. Let's take a short look back at the task options. We select again the design group and go to Output. For the reinforcement sketch, you can change the option to Defined Reinforcement. Then no proposal will be given. Instead, the report shows the predefined reinforcement from the cross-section. The one defined here in the cross-section dialog. Please note that the task can only give a proposal if a standard cross-section has been used, not for a polygonal cross-section. Now we take a closer look at a design group summary. Here you have an overview of all analyzed columns, including the names we defined in the first step, all sorted by design group. If your project has more columns in it, it is possible to change the output to only show the design groups. The most interesting part of this table is here on the right. In this column you see the individual required reinforcement for each column. And here is the ratio between the individual required reinforcement and the maximal required reinforcement of this design group. When we now take a closer look at the first design group, we see that there are a lot of columns where the required reinforcement is only about 10% from the decisive reinforcement of this group. There were only 2 columns with the required reinforcement closer to the maximum. This one here and this one. So based on these results, our primary grouping may not be the most economical choice. Therefore, in the next step, we will overthink our grouping and start the design process again.